The Gingerbread Cupid. Chapter 1. The house on Maple Street smelled like cinnamon and brown sugar. Eve Whitmore had spent all evening baking, flour dusting her apron and sticking to her dark hair. She arranged the gingerbread cookies on a white plate, each one shaped like a little man with icing eyes and smile. The clock above the mantel showed 8:45. Perfect timing, Eve whispered to herself. She placed the plate on the coffee table next to a glass of milk, then climbed the stairs to bed. Her daughter slept down the hall, dreaming of presents and magic. Eve pulled the covers to her chin and closed her eyes, though sleep felt far away. Christmas Eve carried a particular weight for single mothers. 3 years since the divorce, and she still felt the empty space beside her. The fire in the hearth burned low, orange embers glowing against the brick. As soon as they fell asleep, the embers flared. Green and gold sparks shot up the chimney. Soot puffed into the living room, followed by black boots, red velvet, and a substantial belly covered in white fur trim. Santa Claus landed with surprising grace for a man of his size. He brushed ash from his coat and surveyed the room. "Gingerbread," he announced to the empty room. "My favorite." He bit into one cookie, chewing with contentment. Crumbs fell into his beard. He drank the milk in 3 long gulps, set down the glass, and moved to the tree. Presents appeared from his sack, as if he pulled them from another dimension entirely. He worked with the efficiency of someone who'd done this job for centuries, humming a tune that sounded older than any carol on the radio. When the last gift sat beneath the tree, Santa shouldered his empty sack and gripped the mantle. His bag swung as he climbed, and the clasp came loose. Something glittered as it fell, tiny particles that caught the dying firelight. They drifted down like snow. One particle landed directly on the center gingerbread man. It sank into the dough, disappearing. Santa vanished up the chimney. The house fell silent. Then the cookie twitched. The gingerbread man's icing eyes blinked. He sat up, the buttons gleaming on his chest. He looked at his hands, little cookie mittens, then at his legs. He stood wobbling on the plate. The living room stretched enormously around him. He hopped to the coffee table, landing with a soft tap. He tilted his head, listening. The house breathed with sleeping occupants. Outside, snow fell past the windows. The little gingerbread man felt a pull, something deep in his chest where the magical sprinkles had soaked into his dough. He understood his purpose without being told. Love. He needed to spread love. He scurried to the window and squeezed through a gap in the frame, dropping into the snow outside. The cold didn't bother him. He ran down Maple Street, leaving tiny footprints that vanished as quickly as he made them. The town of Cheerybrook spread before him, houses decorated with lights, streets empty except for falling snow. He ran with purpose, following the invisible thread that tugged him forward. Chapter 2. The coffee shop on Main Street stayed open late on Christmas Eve for travelers and insomniacs. Joseph Callahan wiped down tables, his shoulders hunched. At 62, he should have been home with family. Instead, he worked the closing shift, alone except for the hum of the espresso machine. The bell above the door chimed. Carol Martinez stepped inside, stamping snow from her boots. She unwound a red scarf from her neck and looked around the empty shop. Her eyes landed on Joseph, and something flickered across her face. "I didn't think anyone would be open," Carol stated. "Last customer gets free coffee," Joseph offered. "What can I make you?" he asked. "Just black coffee. Hot," Carol requested. Joseph poured from the pot he'd made an hour ago. It had that burnt edge from sitting too long on the warmer. He handed her the cup, and their fingers brushed. Carol pulled back fast. $3.50, Joseph informed her. "I thought you said free," Carol reminded him. "That was a joke," Joseph smiled. She rolled her eyes and dug in her purse, pulling out exact change. She dropped it on the counter without looking at him. Joseph watched her choose a table in the corner, as far from him as possible. He returned to wiping tables, working his way across the room. The gingerbread man watched from the window ledge outside. He could feel the tension between these two humans, as thick as the snow piling on the street. But underneath it, something else simmered. Something warm and buried deep. He squeezed under the door. The shop smelled like coffee grounds and pine from the small tree on the counter. The gingerbread man darted between chair legs, invisible in the shadows. He climbed the wall near Carol's table, using the textured wallpaper for grip. A bulletin board hung at eye level, covered in flyers and business cards. A strand of lights wrapped around the front window, casting everything in a warm, golden glow. He pressed himself against the baseboard and moved quickly, staying low. The outlet was just ahead, and the light strand's plug sat fat and secure in the bottom socket. But it was the bulb he wanted, the one screwed into the lowest point of the strand, dangling just above the outlet cover. He reached it and stopped, glancing back toward the counter, still clear. The bulb was warm under his hands, almost hot. He gripped it tight, braced his feet against the wall, and twisted. It didn't budge. He grunted, threw his whole weight into it, turning counterclockwise with everything he had. The bulb squeaked, gave, turned. 1 rotation, 2. The threads started to separate. The lights flickered, then went out. He froze, his heart pounding. "Damn it," Joseph muttered. "Not tonight." He grabbed a stepladder from the back room and carried it to the window. Carol watched him set it up, her coffee forgotten. "Need help?" Carol questioned. "I've got it," Joseph insisted. Joseph climbed the ladder. He reached for the strand, testing bulbs. The gingerbread man scurried along the floor and bumped the ladder leg. It shifted an inch. Joseph grabbed the window frame for balance. "Careful!" Carol shouted. She jumped up from her table. "I said I've got it," Joseph repeated. The ladder wobbled again. The gingerbread man pushed harder. Carol lunged forward and steadied it, but it was too late. Joseph slipped. They tumbled together, landing in a heap on the floor. "Are you hurt, or?" Carol asked. Her hands moved over his arms, checking for breaks. "I'm fine," Joseph assured her. "That was stupid. You could have broken your neck," Carol scolded. "Since when do you care?" Joseph challenged. "What?" Carol responded. "You haven't spoken to me in 6 months," Joseph pointed out. "Not since last summer." "You know why," Carol countered. "Because your daughter thinks I'm too old for you," Joseph stated flatly. Carol's jaw tightened. "She has opinions," Carol defended. "You're 50 years old. You're allowed to have a life," Joseph argued. "She's my daughter," Carol protested. "And you're a grown woman who deserves to be happy," Joseph pressed. They stayed on the floor. The gingerbread man perched on the counter, watching. He could see it now, the invisible threads connecting these two people. They glowed gold in his cookie vision, tangled but not broken. "I miss you," Carol whispered. Joseph's hand came up to touch her face. "I miss you too," Joseph confessed. "Gloria said I was being selfish." "Dating again after her father," Carol explained. "You got divorced 5 years ago," Joseph reminded her gently. I know. But she looked at me like I was betraying him," Carol admitted. "You're not betraying anyone by living," Joseph told her. Carol's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to call you so many times," she revealed. "Then why didn't you?" Joseph asked. "Because I'm a coward," Carol answered. Joseph sat up, pulling Carol with him. They stayed on the floor between tables, snow falling past the dark window. "I'm closing up," Joseph announced. "Come home with me. We'll figure this out." "What about Gloria?" Carol worried. "We'll figure her out too." "Together," Joseph promised. Carol nodded. Joseph helped her to her feet, and they left the shop hand in hand. Joseph locked the door but didn't bother to fix the lights. They walked into the snow, leaning close. The gingerbread man dropped from the counter and slipped outside through the gap under the door. The invisible thread pulled him onward. More work waited. Chapter 3. The police station sat at the edge of downtown, a brick building with American flags out front. Inside, Winter Hayes sat at her desk, finishing paperwork. Her uniform sleeves were rolled up, dark hair pulled into a bun. The night shift stretched long and quiet. The station phone rang. Cheerybrook Police. Officer Hayes, Winter answered professionally. Winter? It's Nick. Nick Castellano, the voice on the other end replied. Winter's pen stopped moving. She hadn't heard his voice in 2 years, not since the accident. What do you want? Winter asked coldly. I'm at the old Miller place on Route 6. Someone broke a window. I'm the on-call property manager, and I need an officer to file a report, Nick explained. Call the sheriff, Winter suggested. You're closer. Please, Nick requested. Winter wanted to hang up. Her finger hovered over the button, but it was Christmas. I'll be there in 10 minutes, she relented. She grabbed her coat and keys, cursing herself. The patrol car started with a rumble, heat blasting through the vents. Route 6 wound through pine trees, the road slick with ice. Winter drove with both hands on the wheel. The Miller place had sat empty for 3 years. The porch sagged, paint peeling from the siding. A truck idled in the driveway, headlights cutting through the dark. Nick stood on the porch, his hands shoved in his jacket pockets. Winter parked and got out. Snow crunched under her boots as she walked to the house. Nick turned, and their eyes met. The gingerbread man watched from behind a wheel, having hitched a ride in the doorwell. Which window? Winter questioned. Around back. Kids, probably, Nick guessed. Winter followed him around the house, her flashlight beam sweeping over broken siding and dead grass. The back window had a hole the size of a baseball, glass scattered on the ground inside. I'll take photos and write it up, Winter informed him. You'll need to board it tonight. I know, Nick acknowledged. Just doing my job, Winter sighed. She knelt and took pictures with her phone. Nick stood behind her, close enough that she could hear him breathing. The gingerbread man climbed the porch railing, moving closer. How have you been? Nick ventured. Fine, Winter snipped. That's it? Just fine, Nick pressed. Winter stood. What do you want me to say? She demanded. Anything real, Nick requested. Real? Winter spun to face him. You want real? You disappeared. We were planning a wedding and you disappeared. My brother died, Nick reminded her. I know. I was there, remember? I held you while you cried. I went to the funeral. I brought you food for a month because you weren't eating, Winter recounted. I needed space, Nick defended. You needed to shut everyone out, Winter shot back. You quit answering my calls. You avoided me at the grocery store. You bought a new truck so you wouldn't have to see me at the garage. Nick's face fell. I couldn't face you, he admitted. Why? Winter challenged. Because every time I looked at you, I saw the future we'd planned. And that future felt impossible. How could I get married and give you 100% of me when I didn't have all of me to give? Nick explained. So you decided to be miserable alone instead, Winter concluded. Yes, Nick confirmed. The word hung between them. The gingerbread man jumped from the railing to the windowsill, then to the ground. He crouched in the shadows. His eyes searched the snow-covered dirt. He spotted a stone, smooth and heavy, the size of a marble to a human, but a boulder to him. He wound up and through. The rock sailed through the air and right through the back window. It caught one of the loose shards which fell to the floor inside with a crash. What was that? Winter's hand went to her gun. Someone's inside, he said. Stay here, she ordered. Winter, stay. Here, I mean it, Nick, she snapped. She moved toward the door, testing the handle. Locked. She peered through the broken window, her flashlight cutting through the darkness inside. Nick followed anyway, staying a few steps behind. I told you to stay back, Winter hissed. Someone could be in there, Nick argued. He pulled out his keys and unlocked the door. She pushed it open slowly, gun raised, and stepped inside. The house smelled like mildew and old wood. Her flashlight beam swept the space, a kitchen. Nick stayed close behind her. Police, Winter called out. If anyone's in here, show yourself. Nothing. Just the creak of old floorboards beneath their feet. They moved through the house room by room, empty, dust-covered furniture, forgotten boxes, cobwebs in the corners. A scrabble of claws overhead made them both freeze. "What was that?" Nick whispered. Winter aimed her flashlight up. A fat grey squirrel stared down at them from the top of the fridge. "Are you kidding me?" Winter muttered. She holstered her weapon and turned to face him. "You should have stayed outside," she said. "I wanted to protect you," Nick replied. Winter's expression softened, just slightly. She looked at him for a long moment, and something in her face shifted. "I'm sorry," Nick said. "For everything. I know I messed up. I wanted to reach out so many times, but it seemed better to just let you forget I ever existed." "That was impossible," Winter said. Her voice cracked. "I've been in pain for 2 years. I didn't know." "I thought you would have moved on by now," he admitted. "You're a jerk," she said. "I know." "You don't get to just disappear on someone and think that's noble or kind or whatever you told yourself," Winter continued. "You don't get to make that decision for both of us." "You're right," Nick agreed. "I would give anything to go back in time and make a different choice." The gingerbread man peered through the broken window, watching the golden threads between them pulse and glow. They were fraying at the edges, but still there, still holding. He felt something shift, a softening, a possibility. Winter exhaled slowly. "Come on," she said. "My shift is almost over. I'll write up the report and you can buy me a coffee." Nick blinked. "Coffee? Don't make me change my mind." "No, coffee. Yes, absolutely." They walked back to their vehicles together, the snow falling soft and silent around them. Chapter 4. The library sat on Elm Street, a stone building with tall windows. Inside, Belle Richardson shelved books in the history section. She'd volunteered to work Christmas Eve because going home to an empty apartment felt worse than being surrounded by stories. The front door opened. Belle looked up. Noel Park walked in, shaking snow from his hair. He wore glasses that fogged immediately in the warm air. He took them off, wiping them on his shirt. "I didn't think anyone would be here," Noel remarked. "Just me," Belle confirmed. "Did you need something?" "A book on carpentry." "I'm building shelves for my mother," Noel explained. "Dewey Decimal 694, Belle recited. "Thanks," Noel responded. Noel wandered toward the 600s. Belle watched him go, then returned to shelving. She'd known Noel since high school, though they'd never been friends. He worked at the hardware store and lived in the apartment above it. They saw each other around town, exchanged polite greetings, nothing more. The gingerbread man squeezed through the mail slot in the front door. The scent of lemon furniture polish hit him as he hit the floor. He could feel something different here. Not the bright tangle of Carol and Joseph or the broken threads of Winter and Nick. This felt like potential, like seeds waiting for water. He climbed the circulation desk and surveyed the space. Belle and Noel moved in separate aisles, unaware of each other. The gingerbread man hopped down and ran across the carpet, his footsteps silent. Noel found the carpentry section. He pulled a book from the shelf and flipped through pages of diagrams. Belle emerged from the next aisle over, pushing a cart of returns. The gingerbread man climbed the shelf and knocked 6 books loose. They tumbled to the floor with a cascade of thuds. Noel spun around. Belle jumped. "Sorry," Noel apologized. "I don't know how that happened." "It's okay." "Old shelves," Belle rationalized. Belle knelt to gather the books. Noel set down his carpentry manual and helped. Their hands reached for the same book, fingers touching. Belle pulled back. "I've got it," Belle assured him. "Let me help," Noel offered. They picked up the books together, stacking them on Belle's cart. Noel noticed one of the titles, Victorian Architecture. "You might like this one," he said, holding it up. "You like old buildings, don't you?" Belle glanced at him. "How do you know that?" she wondered out loud. "I remember you reading about them in high school," Noel revealed. "You paid attention to what I was reading in school?" Belle questioned. "I paid attention to you," Noel admitted. Belle straightened, color rising in her cheeks. "Oh," Belle responded. "That came out weird," Noel backtracked. "I didn't mean it weird. I just meant I noticed you. I do notice you. Around town. You're always reading something interesting." "You think Victorian architecture is interesting?" Belle asked. "I think people who are passionate about things are interesting," Noel clarified. Belle smiled. It lit up her whole face. "That's a good answer," Belle approved. "I'm good with answers sometimes. Usually with books about Victorian architecture in my hand," Noel joked. Belle giggled. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "What?" "I notice you too," she admitted, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. They stood in the aisle, books stacked between them. The library felt warmer somehow, more alive. The gingerbread man perched on a shelf, watching the golden thread spin between them. It started thin, tentative, but it grew with each passing second. "Do you want to get lunch sometime?" Noel ventured. "After Christmas." "I'd like that," Belle accepted. "Really?" Noel verified. "Really," Belle confirmed. Noel grinned. He picked up his carpentry book. "I should check this out," he announced. "Right. Yes, of course," Belle stammered. Belle led him to the circulation desk. She scanned his book, her heart beating faster. Noel watched her, his grin never fading. When she handed the book back, their hands touched. Neither pulled away. "Merry Christmas, Belle," Noel wished. "Merry Christmas, Noel," Belle returned. He left the library, walking backwards so he could see her until the door closed. Belle stood at the desk, her gaze locked on him. The gingerbread man hopped off the shelf and headed for the door. 2 more threads glowed in his vision, pulling him in different directions. So much love needed spreading, so little time. Chapter 5. The bakery on 4th Street belonged to Angelica Torres. She'd inherited it from her grandmother, along with recipes written in Spanish and English on cards yellowed with age. Tonight she rolled out dough for tomorrow's bread, her arms aching. A knock on the back door made her look up. Angelica wiped flour on her apron and unlocked the door. Klaus Müller stood outside, holding a toolbox. "You called about the oven?" Klaus verified. 4 hours ago. "I didn't think you were coming, it being Christmas Eve," Angelica replied. "I work every day," Klaus replied. Angelica stepped aside to let him in. Klaus set his toolbox on the counter and examined the industrial oven that took up half the back wall. He opened it, peering inside, then checked the gas line. The gingerbread man watched from outside the window. He could see the threads between these two, but they were grey, dull with old anger. This would take work. He found a gap in the window frame and squeezed through. He caught the delightful scent of cinnamon. Angelica returned to her dough, her back to Klaus. Klaus worked on the oven, removing panels and testing connections. Neither spoke. "The igniter is shot," Klaus announced. "I can replace it, but I don't have the part on the truck." "So, I'm without an oven tomorrow," Angelica concluded. "I can get the part first thing the day after Christmas," Klaus offered. "That doesn't help me now," Angelica snapped. Klaus straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. "I came as fast as I could," Klaus defended. "I know," Angelica acknowledged. "Then why are you angry?" Klaus questioned. "I'm not angry," Angelica denied. "You've been angry at me for 6 months," Klaus observed. Angelica's hands stilled in the dough. "I'm not talking about this," Angelica refused. "We have to talk about it eventually," Klaus insisted. "Why?" "You made your choice," Angelica accused. "What choice?" Klaus demanded. "You chose your ex-wife over me," Angelica stated. "I chose my son," Klaus corrected. The words echoed in the bakery. Angelica turned, flour dusting her dark hair. Klaus stood by the oven, his face red. "Felix needed me," Klaus explained. "His mother was in the hospital and he had no one else. What was I supposed to do? Abandon a 14-year-old kid because we had dinner plans?" "It wasn't just dinner plans. It was my birthday," Angelica reminded him. "I know," Klaus acknowledged. "You promised you'd be there." "You said nothing would make you miss it," Angelica recalled. "I'm sorry," Klaus apologized. "I could have forgiven that, but then you didn't call." For 3 weeks, not so much as a text. I had to hear from Joy at the hardware store that your ex-wife was sick. You shut me out completely, Angelica listed. Klaus sagged against the counter. I was drowning, taking care of Felix, running to the hospital twice a day, trying to keep my business going. I barely slept, Klaus explained. I would have helped, Angelica offered. I couldn't ask you to do that, Klaus protested. Why not? Angelica demanded. What are we doing if we can't help each other? I didn't want to burden you, Klaus reasoned. So instead you disappeared and made me think I didn't matter, Angelica concluded. The gingerbread man climbed onto the counter. He could feel the threads between them, grey and frayed but still connected. He looked around the bakery, searching for something to use. A bag of flour sat open near Angelica's dough. He pushed it. The bag tipped, dumping flour across the counter. White powder exploded into the air, coating everything. Angelica yelped. Klaus coughed, waving his hand through the cloud. What the hell? Angelica exclaimed. She rushed to the counter. Klaus grabbed a towel and tried to contain the mess. They collided, flour transferring from the counter to their clothes. Angelica slipped on the powder coating the floor. Klaus caught her. They stood there, covered in flour, staring at each other. Then Angelica laughed. It started as a giggle and built into full laughter that shook her whole body. Klaus started laughing too, deep and genuine. We look ridiculous, Angelica gasped. Your hair is completely white, Klaus noted. You have flour in your eyebrows, Angelica countered. You're like Jolly Saint Nick. They laughed until tears ran down their faces, cutting clean tracks through the flour. Then the laughter faded. I'm sorry, Klaus apologized. I'm sorry I shut you out. I'm sorry I made you feel like you didn't matter. You matter more than I know how to say. I was scared, Angelica admitted. Your ex-wife needed you, and Felix needed you, and I thought maybe you'd think I didn't need you. Or worse, realize you still loved her. I don't love her. I love you, Klaus declared. You've never said that before, Angelica observed. I should have said it every day, Klaus regretted. Let's clean up this mess, he said. And then you can come to my house and use my oven. I'll bake all night with you, if that's what it takes to get it all done, he offered. She handed him a towel. All right, thanks. The gingerbread man hopped off the counter, satisfied. The threads between them began to glow again, faint but strong. Chapter 6. Holly stared at the gift box on the coffee table. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a cheap terry cloth robe, pink, polyester, the kind you could buy at a department store for $19. You don't like it, her boyfriend Jeremy said from the doorway. It's a robe, Holly replied flatly. You said you needed a new one, Jeremy defended. I said that in September. 3 months ago. On Christmas Eve, when we've been dating for 7 years, you got me a robe, Holly stated. Jeremy crossed his arms. You're just mad because it's not a ring, he said. The words stung. Holly felt something crack inside her chest. Yes, she admitted. I wanted a ring. I thought we were on the same page. You met my parents. You said you loved me. You talked about the future. I do love you, Jeremy insisted. But not enough to marry me, Holly concluded. I'm not ready, Jeremy said. You're 32 years old. How much more time do you need? Holly demanded. I don't know. I just know I'm not there yet, Jeremy answered. Holly stood up. Her hands were shaking. I can't do this anymore, she declared. I can't keep waiting for you to be sure about me. Where are you going? Jeremy questioned. I don't know, Holly said. Anywhere but here. She walked to the bedroom and grabbed her duffel bag from the closet. She threw in clothes, her toiletries, her laptop and charger. Jeremy followed her, watching from the doorway. Don't do this, Jeremy pleaded. It's Christmas Eve. Exactly, Holly shot back. It's Christmas Eve, and you gave me a cheap robe and told me you're not ready. I think that says everything. She zipped the bag and pushed past him. Jeremy didn't try to stop her. He figured she'd be back. She just needed time to cool off, come to her senses. She grabbed her coat and keys and slammed the door behind her. The hallway was quiet. Holly stood there, breathing hard, tears burning her eyes. She pressed the elevator button and waited. The gingerbread man sat in a potted plant in the corner, having followed the pull that led him here. He could see the thread attached to Holly, golden and bright, but it didn't connect to the apartment she'd just left. It stretched down the hallway, down the stairs, to apartment 1B on the first floor. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Holly stepped inside, wiping her face with the back of her hand. The gingerbread man ran for the stairs. He slid down the railing, his cookie body bumping against the smooth wood. He landed on the first floor landing and scurried to apartment 1B. He threw himself against the door, knocking with his whole body. Once, twice, 3 times. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Angel Kim stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking confused. Then he saw Holly stepping out of the elevator, duffel bag over her shoulder, tears on her face. "Holly!" he called out. She turned, startled. She hadn't expected anyone to be in the hallway. "Angel," she said, her voice cracking. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping into the hallway. "I'm fine," Holly lied. "You're crying. And you have a packed bag. You're not fine," Angel observed. Holly wiped her eyes again. "Jeremy and I had a fight," she admitted. "A bad one," Angel guessed. "The worst," Holly confirmed. "Where are you going?" Angel questioned. "I don't know. A hotel, maybe. My sister's place," Holly said. "I hadn't really thought about it yet." Angel looked at the window at the end of the hall. Snow fell thick and heavy outside. "It's snowing." "You can't go out there," Angel stated. "Come inside." "I don't want to bother you," Holly protested. "You're not bothering me." "Come on," Angel insisted. He held the door open. After a moment, Holly walked inside. Angel's apartment was smaller than hers, but warmer somehow. Books lined the shelves, and a Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with mismatched ornaments. The TV was paused on some Jason Statham movie. "Sit," Angel directed, gesturing to the couch. "I'll make you something hot." "Cocoa?" "You don't have to," Holly began. "Sit," Angel repeated firmly. Holly sat. She set her bag down and pulled off her coat. Angel disappeared into the kitchen. She could hear him opening cabinets, the click of the stove igniting. They'd known each other for 3 years, ever since Holly moved into the building. Angel had helped her carry boxes up the stairs on her first day. They'd become friends, hallway conversations that turned into coffee runs, movie recommendations, borrowed sugar and takeout menus. He was easy to talk to, the kind of person who remembered details. Angel returned with 2 mugs of cocoa and handed her one. He sat in the armchair across from her. "What happened?" Angel asked gently. Holly wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. "I thought he was going to propose," she confessed. "We've been together for 7 years. He's met my family. We talked about getting married, having kids, all of it. And tonight, on Christmas Eve, he gave me a $19 robe." "Ouch!" Angel winced. "I asked him if he wanted to marry me. He said he's not ready." "He doesn't know when he'll be ready," Holly continued. Her voice broke. "I wasted 7 years on someone who isn't sure about me." "You didn't waste anything," Angel countered. "You loved someone. That's not a waste." "It feels like one," Holly said bitterly. They sat in silence for a moment. Holly sipped her cocoa. "You can stay here," Angel offered, "for as long as you need." "I'll sleep on the couch." "I can't ask you to do that," Holly objected. "You're not asking." "I'm offering," Angel clarified. "You're my friend. And you shouldn't be alone right now." Holly's eyes filled with tears again. "Thank you," she whispered. Angel leaned forward. "Can I say something?" he ventured. "Okay," Holly agreed. "For 3 years you've told me about your dream. You said you want to travel, backpack through Europe, see the museums in Italy, watch the sakura bloom in Japan. You had this whole plan mapped out, and then you met Jeremy and put it on hold," Angel recalled. Holly nodded slowly. "You've told me about that dream at least 20 times, Angel continued. "You talk about Florence and Kyoto and Paris like they're waiting for you." And they are. They're still waiting. "That was just talk," Holly dismissed. "Was it?" Angel challenged. "Because it didn't sound like talk. It sounded like something you really wanted, something you gave up. I had to grow up. Get serious. Plan for the future, Holly explained. With someone who won't commit to you, Angel pointed out. Holly, this is your chance. This is your moment to reclaim that dream. Don't tie yourself to a guy who isn't sure about you when there's a whole world out there. Holly stared at him. I can't just go to Europe. It's Christmas, she protested weakly. Why not? Angel asked. What's stopping you? Money. Planning. I'd be alone, Holly listed. Angel set down his mug. You have savings. I know you do. You've told me you've been saving for a wedding for years, and you wouldn't be alone, Angel said. I'll go with you. What? Holly blinked. I'll go with you, Angel repeated. I have vacation time. I've always wanted to travel but never had anyone to go with. We're both young. We're both unattached. Let's do it. Carpe diem. You're serious, Holly realized. Completely serious, Angel confirmed. Let's book tickets to France right now. We can be on a plane tomorrow, spend New Year's in Paris, figure out the rest as we go. Holly's heart pounded. That's crazy, she said. Maybe, Angel admitted. But when was the last time you did something crazy? Something just for you. Holly thought about Jeremy, about the apartment upstairs, about the robe sitting in its box. She thought about the 3 years she'd spent waiting, planning, hoping for something that was never going to happen. I've never been impulsive, Holly confessed. I know, Angel said, smiling. That's why you should do this. Holly looked at him, really looked at him. Angel, who'd been her friend for 3 years, who remembered her dreams, who made her cocoa and offered his room without hesitation, who was willing to drop everything and fly to Paris with her. Okay, she said. Okay, Angel verified. Let's do it. Let's book the tickets, Holly decided. Angel grinned. He grabbed his laptop from the coffee table and opened it. They sat side by side on the couch, searching flights. There was one leaving tomorrow afternoon, Christmas Day, with 2 seats left. This one, Holly pointed. You're sure? Angel asked. I'm sure, Holly affirmed. Angel booked the tickets. When the confirmation email came through, Holly laughed. A real laugh, the first one all night. We're going to Paris, she marveled. We're going to Paris, Angel echoed. The gingerbread man watched from the windowsill, the golden thread between them blazing brighter with every passing second. They were finally seeing what he'd seen all along. Holly leaned her head against Angel's shoulder. Thank you, she said. You don't have to thank me, Angel said. I've wanted to do this with you for a long time. She lifted her head to look at him. Really? She asked. Really? Angel confirmed. I just never thought you'd say yes. They looked at each other, and something shifted. Something clicked into place. You should probably pack, Holly said. Probably, Angel agreed, but neither of them moved. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, 2 people who'd been friends for 3 years finally saw each other clearly. The gingerbread man slipped out into the night, ready for his next adventure. Chapter 7. The ice rink in the town square was supposed to close at 9. Instead, Joy Winters and Rudy Castellano stood behind the rental counter at 1 a.m., exhausted and annoyed. Some tech billionaire had rented out the entire rink for his family's private Christmas Eve party, paying triple the normal rate and keeping the place open 4 hours late. The last of the luxury cars finally pulled away. Joy locked the front gate and turned to Rudy. I hate rich people, Joy declared. Same, Rudy agreed. Did you see the kid throw his skates at me? Did you see the mom demand I Lysol every inch of the rental counter because her precious Angel might touch it? They both laughed, tired and punchy, the rink stretched empty before them. The gingerbread man perched on top of the skate shelves, having followed the pull that led him here. He could see the thread connecting Joy and Rudy. It glowed so bright it nearly blinded him, but neither human seemed aware of it. They worked side by side every shift, close but never crossing that invisible line. Rudy grabbed a broom and started sweeping. Joy organized the returned skates, checking them back in. Hey, Rudy said. Want to skate before we finish closing? No thanks, Joy replied without looking up. Come on, we've been here for 6 hours. 5 minutes won't hurt. I'm tired, she whined. I know you can skate, Rudy pressed. I've seen the photos in the break room. You were a junior champ. Joy's hands stilled on the skates. That was a long time ago, she said quietly. Rudy watched her for a moment, then grabbed a pair of skates from the rack. He sat on the bench and laced them up. Joy kept organizing, determinedly not watching as he stepped onto the ice. Joy, he called. She looked up. He stood at the edge of the rink, hand extended toward her. She shook her head. Rudy shrugged and pushed off, gliding across the ice. He picked up speed, his movements easy and confident. He attempted a small jump, nothing fancy, and landed it clean. When he circled back around, he was grinning. Joy smiled despite herself. The gingerbread man scurried along the counter, looking for an opening. He spotted Joy's personal skates tucked under the bench where she always kept them. He squeezed through the gap and shoved with all his strength. The skates toppled off the shelf and landed with a thud. She looked down at them, looked at Rudy skating lazy circles on the ice, looked back at the skates. Oh, what the hell, she muttered. She sat and pulled them on, lacing them tight. The leather felt familiar against her ankles, worn in all the right places. She stepped onto the ice. The cold air hit her face, sharp and clean. Her blades cut smooth lines as she glided forward, and muscle memory took over. Rudy skated toward her and offered his hand. This time, she took it. They moved across the ice together, building speed. Rudy spun her, and she laughed, the sound echoing in the empty rink. They circled and wove, hands clasped, moving like they'd been skating together for years instead of minutes. The gingerbread man climbed the wall to the sound system and examined the controls. He found the power button and pressed it. Christmas music flooded the speakers, bright and joyful. Joy and Rudy kept skating, their movements matching the rhythm. He twirled her again, and she let her head fall back, watching the lights blur above them. When they finally slowed, both were breathing hard, faces flushed. You should do that more, Rudy said. You're amazing. Joy's smile faded. She pulled her hand from his and skated to the edge, gripping the wall. I can't, she said. Why not? Joy was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice came out tight. I messed up my knee when I was 17. Bad landing during practice. It never healed right. Skating was my whole life. I was going to go pro, compete, maybe make it to the Olympics. That was the plan since I was 6 years old, and then one bad jump and it was over. I can skate around like this, but I can't do the jumps anymore, can't train the way I used to. I lost everything. My identity, my future, my whole sense of who I was supposed to be. Rudy skated closer. You're so much more than that, he said. You don't understand. You're kind. You stayed late on Christmas Eve without complaining, even though that family treated us like garbage. You're smart. You fixed the popcorn machine last week when it broke down, and you had no idea how it worked. You're funny. You make every shift better just by being here. And it's okay if you don't have your whole life figured out right now. You're 20. Some people who are 40 don't have it all figured out. Joy stared at him, her eyes wide. I mean it, Rudy continued. You're not just the thing you lost. You're a whole person. Rudy. The gingerbread man climbed the wall to the sound system and examined the controls. He found the power button and pressed it. Christmas music flooded the speakers, bright and joyful. Joy and Rudy both startled, then laughed. Did we leave that on? Joy asked. We must have, Rudy said. I'm not complaining. He reached out and took her hand. He spun her, and she laughed, the sound mixing with the music. They circled and wove, their hands clasped, moving like they'd been skating together for years instead of minutes. He twirled her again, and she let her head fall back, watching the lights blur above them. I have a crush on you, he blurted out. I've had one since you started working here in September. I think about you all the time. I take extra shifts hoping you'll be scheduled too. And watching you skate tonight, seeing you happy, it just made it worse. Joy's breath faltered. Worse? She asked. Better? I meant better. She laughed. I have a crush on you too, she admitted. I thought you were dating that girl who comes in on Thursdays. What girl? The one with the red coat. That's my cousin, Rudy said. Oh. So, he said, want to go get coffee after we finish closing? Or breakfast? It's probably breakfast time by now. Yeah, Joy said. I'd like that. The gingerbread man watched from his perch by the sound system, the golden thread between them blazing bright and strong. He hopped down and scurried toward the exit. One more stop waited. Chapter 8. Feliz Santos lived in a small house at the end of Maple Street, 3 doors down from where Eve Whitmore had baked cookies that started this whole adventure. Feliz sat in his living room staring at his phone. His daughter's number filled the screen. He'd typed and deleted a dozen messages in the last hour. Merry Christmas. Want to get breakfast tomorrow? Delete. Hey, sweetie, just checking in. Delete. I miss you. Delete. The gingerbread man stood on the windowsill watching. He could see the thread connecting Feliz to his daughter Gloria, thin and frayed, but still there. He could see other threads too, connecting Feliz to his ex-wife Carol, to a family that had splintered but not broken. Someone knocked on the door. Feliz set down his phone and answered. Gloria stood on his porch, her hands shoved in her coat pockets, eyes red. Gloria, Feliz said, surprised. Can I come in? She asked. Of course. Of course, he replied. She stepped inside, not bothering to take off her coat. She stood in the middle of his living room like she didn't know what to do with herself. What's wrong? Are you okay? Feliz asked. I was at Mom's, Gloria said. She told me she's seeing someone. Joseph, the guy from the coffee shop. Feliz felt something twist in his chest. Oh, he managed. She's happy. Like, really happy. I haven't seen her like that in years, Gloria continued. Her voice cracked, and I realized I can't remember the last time I saw you happy either. And I couldn't go home, I had to come here. Sit down, Feliz urged. Please. Gloria sat on the couch. Feliz sat beside her, keeping a careful distance, not sure if touch would help or make things worse. I'm glad your mother's happy, Feliz said quietly. I mean that. Are you? Gloria challenged. Really? Yes, he answered. Then why do you look like someone punched you? She pressed. Feliz exhaled slowly. Because I'm happy for her, and I'm sad for me, and both those things can be true at the same time, he admitted. We weren't right for each other. The divorce was the best choice. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt to know she's moved on, and I'm still here. Alone, Gloria finished. Yeah, Feliz confirmed. They sat in silence. The house felt too quiet, too empty. A clock ticked from the wall in the kitchen. I've been a terrible daughter, Gloria said. No, Feliz started. I have, she interrupted. I took sides. I blamed Mom for leaving. Then I blamed you for not fighting harder to make her stay. I've barely called you in 2 years. I moved across town and I used work as an excuse not to visit. And tonight, when Mom told me about Joseph, the first thing I felt was anger. Not for her, for you. Because it felt like she was betraying you even though you've been divorced for 5 years and you're not together and it's none of my business. Her voice broke completely. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't know how to be your daughter anymore. I don't know how to navigate this. And I'm so scared I've already lost you, she whispered. Feliz pulled her into a hug. She collapsed against him, crying into his shoulder the way she used to when she was small and the world felt too big. You haven't lost me, Feliz said firmly. You could never lose me. I've been so angry for so long, Gloria sobbed. At both of you, at myself. I wanted you to fix it, to get back together, and when you didn't, I just shut down. I know. I'm sorry, Feliz apologized. It's not your fault, she said. It's a little bit my fault, Feliz countered. I shut down too. I let you pull away because I didn't know how to reach out. I was so busy trying not to burden you with my sadness that I just disappeared." Gloria pulled back, wiping her face with her sleeve. "We're really bad at this," she said. "Yeah, we are," Felice agreed. They both laughed, awkward and broken. The gingerbread man climbed down from the windowsill and scurried across the floor. He found a framed photo on the side table. Felice, Carol, and Gloria at the beach, years ago. All of them sunburned and grinning. He pushed it with all his strength. The frame tipped and fell, landing face up on the carpet with a soft thud. Both Felice and Gloria looked at it. "I remember that day," Gloria said softly. "You bought me that terrible hermit crab that died after 3 days. Mr. Claus," Felice recalled. "You cried for a week." "You gave him a funeral in the backyard," she reminded him. "With full honors," he replied. Gloria picked up the photo, running her thumb over the glass. "We were happy," she said. "Before everything fell apart. We were a family." "We're still a family," Felice corrected. "We're just a different shape now." Gloria returned the photo to the shelf. "I want us to be okay again," she said. "All of us. Not together like before, but connected, like we actually care about each other." Felice looked at his daughter, then at the photo, then at his phone still sitting on the arm of the couch where he'd left it. "Stay here," he said, "just for a minute." He picked up his phone and dialed before he could talk himself out of it. Carol answered on the third ring. "Felice?" she said, surprised. "Is everything okay?" "Gloria's here," he said. "She told me about Joseph." Silence on the other end. "I'm happy for you," Felice continued. "I really am. And I was thinking, what if we all did Christmas together tomorrow? You, me, Gloria, Joseph if he wants to come. Just breakfast or lunch or something, as a family. A weird, complicated, divorced family, but still a family." More silence. Gloria stared at him, her eyes wide. "You want to do that?" Carol asked carefully. "I think Gloria needs it. And I think maybe we all do," Felice said. "We've spent 5 years avoiding each other. Maybe it's time to stop." "I'd like that," Carol said. "I think that would be really good." "Yeah?" Felice asked. "Yeah. Come over at 11. I'll make pancakes. You bring the coffee," Carol instructed. "Okay," Felice agreed. "Okay." He hung up and looked at Gloria. She was crying again, but smiling. "You called her," Gloria said. "I called her," he confirmed. "You invited all of us for Christmas," she marveled. "I did," he said. Gloria threw her arms around him. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Felice held his daughter and felt something in his chest that had been closed for years begin to open. Not all the way, not easily, but enough. The gingerbread man watched from the corner, the golden threads between them glowing brighter. He turned and scurried toward the door. His work was done. Chapter 9. Santa's sleigh descended from the sky, his reindeer huffing and jingling. It landed in the church parking lot, runners carving tracks through the snow. Santa climbed down, his boots crunching. The gingerbread man ran to him. Santa knelt, holding out his palm. The gingerbread man climbed on, settling into the warmth of Santa's glove. "There you are," Santa greeted. "I've been looking for you all night." The gingerbread man tilted his head. "Those sprinkles weren't meant for you," Santa continued. "They're powerful magic, rare magic. They're supposed to help me see who needs love most. But they worked on you instead, didn't they? Gave you a purpose." The gingerbread man nodded. "And what a purpose!" "Look what you've done," Santa marveled. Santa surveyed the town. Even from here, he could see the glow of connections, the threads of love that hadn't existed before. The gingerbread man had woven them all in one night, bringing people together, mending what was broken. "You have a gift," Santa praised. "A real gift. The world needs more of that. More love, more connection, more hope." He carried the gingerbread man to the sleigh and set him gently on the seat. The reindeer turned to look, their eyes reflecting starlight. "How would you like to come home with me?" Santa proposed. "The North Pole needs someone like you. Someone who understands love in all its forms. You could help me all year long, not just one night." The gingerbread man looked back at Cheerybrook. The town slept now, houses dark except for the glow of Christmas lights. He'd done good work here, important work. But there was so much more world out there, so many more people who needed what he could give. He turned to Santa and nodded. "Then it's settled," Santa declared. Santa climbed into the sleigh, taking up the reins. "Welcome to the team, little one." "You're going to fit right in," Santa welcomed. The reindeer launched into the sky, hooves finding purchase on air. The sleigh rose over Cheerybrook, circling once. The gingerbread man looked down at the town he'd helped heal, at the threads of gold that connected it all together. Then they flew north, toward home. Epilogue. Christmas morning settled over Cheerybrook. The snow that had fallen all night lay smooth and untouched, as soft as powdered sugar. Officer Winter Hayes sat by the window with a blanket around her shoulders, watching the world wake under its white cover. Her phone buzzed on the table beside her. It was a message from Nick. "Dinner tomorrow, my treat this time." She smiled, typed yes, and set the phone down, letting herself feel something she hadn't in a long time, peace. Across town, Joy Winters stirred awake, sore from skating the night before. Her phone buzzed with a new message from Rudy. It was a photo of a floppy-eared puppy wearing an oversized red bow, its nose pressed against Rudy's cheek. Rudy. "Got the second best Christmas present ever. Can't wait for you to meet him." Joy laughed as she typed, "Second best? What was the first?" She smiled at the screen as she read his reply. "You." Belle sat cross-legged on her couch, surrounded by the quiet comfort of her books and a cup of peppermint tea. The world outside her window glittered, and for the first time in years the future felt like something to look forward to. In the bakery, Angelica sat on the counter beside Klaus, both dusted with flour. The ovens were cold, but they didn't need them. They had understanding and laughter, and the slow warmth of forgiveness. In a quiet apartment on Maple Street, Holly slung her duffel bag over her shoulder, while Angel folded a scarf into his bag. Their tickets sat on the counter beside 2 half-finished mugs of cocoa. "Ready?" he asked. She smiled. "Let's do this." And on Birch Avenue, laughter spilled from Carol's kitchen. Gloria helped her mother set the table while Joseph poured coffee, and Felice flipped pancakes on the stove, the smell of butter and sugar filling the air. It wasn't perfect. There was too much syrup, too much batter spilled, but it was real, and it was love. Outside, the snow continued to fall. No one could say why this Christmas felt different, only that it did. At the top of the world, a little gingerbread man sat beside Santa's fire, small and still and smiling, dreaming of the town called Cheerybrook and wondering where love might lead him next. The end.